Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I thank you all for joining us today for today's webinar on extending stability and efficacy of pharma formulations API with innovative MGC packaging solutions. It's great to see such an overwhelming participation for the webinar. I can already see we have close to 70 to 80 plus participants already who have joined the webinar. We are expecting close to 100 to 150 participants to be a part of this exciting webinar. I am Sean Palana from Pharma Markets, your host for today. This webinar is brought to you by Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals Singapore Pte Limited in association with Pharma Markets in India. Pharma Markets in India, formerly UBM India, is India's leading exhibition organizers that is dedicated to help specialist market and customer communities domestically and around the world to trade, innovate, and grow through exhibitions, digital content, business intelligence, and conferences and seminars. MGC is the pioneer, innovator, and the market leader in oxygen absorbers for the pharma industry with solutions for oxygen absorbers Ageless, biofunctional moistures plus oxygen absorbers PHAMAKEEP in sachet and canister forms, as well as now in active oxygen absorbing barrier flexibles OMAC. MGC will also introduce Oxycap, their proprietary multi-layer technology solution for small volume parenteral makers. MCG's innovative packaging solutions will help formulators in pharma to achieve significant extended stability and efficacy of complex therapeutic products in different dosage forms. To the audience, we assure you that this session would be interactive and engaging. I hope you will have a great time viewing this webinar. We encourage everyone to participate in our Q&A sessions and post your questions well in advance by using the Q&A tab, which you can see at the bottom of the screen, so that your questions can be taken immediately after the presentation. So I would request everyone that even during the presentation, keep posting your questions. Now, it is my honor to introduce our esteemed moderator and speaker for today's webinar. We have with us Mr. Albert Lim, Senior Manager. Albert Lim is the industry veteran with over 20 years in polymer industries, spanning engineering plastics, optics, and food and pharma packaging, with geographical footprint spanning Middle East and Indo-Pacific region. Joining Mr. Albert Lim will be Yoshinobu products transferred to sales to support various customers in the market. Along with these speakers, we also have Ryan Tan, who's the Senior Sales Officer. Ryan Tan did his postgraduate in polymer chemistry with experience in polymer industry, have in the medical device and pharmaceutical industry in more than 7 years. He has been taking care of SEA, South Asia, and MENA region. And finally, last but not the least, we have Anil Kumar, Senior Technical Consultant. He's a postgraduate as pharmacologist, working for more than 7 years in the pharma industry. Previously worked as a researcher in formulation development with sound understanding of pharmaceutical packaging. He has been taking care of South Asia and MENA region. Now I would please request Mr. Albert Lim, our moderator for the day, to please take over.
Thank you, Mr. Sean, and thank you to the participants of today's webinar. We are very grateful for this opportunity to share both our existing products with the participants as well as various new products that we have launched recently, as well as new products that we are about to launch from today in India. And we are also very grateful for the high number of registrations for this webinar. I think in total we have over 300. And I'm looking forward to more people joining us as the time passes by. And today, we will share with you MGC's products to help in the Indian pharma industry extend stability and efficacy for your formulations and API. And there are innovative products that we will also be launching today for various rigid as well as also small parenteral volume receptacles. So I hope all those technologies that we will launch in South Asia, India today, will be well received, and we look forward to the adoption of these products in India to the betterment of the product quality via the increased stability of the products made in India. So I will pass the time over to Ryan. So the flow of the event will be Ryan will be sharing with you products that you are probably familiar with, which probably I've met or we have met many of you, which is Ageless PharmaKeep. But at the same time, we will also be talking about special rigid packaging as well as flexible packaging from Ryan. And followed by that will be Anil, which will be sharing with you something very new. And actually, the request for the products for the small parenteral volumes has been coming to us for a long time. But today, we will launch it officially in India for Oxycap range of products. So without wasting any more time, I will pass the time over to Ryan to start the Ageless product introductions, and also maybe just to state the flow. After the PPT, we'll have a small poll. During the whole sharing of information, please post your questions as what Mr. Sean mentioned to the website Q&A box. It will come into our shared information boxes, and we will try our best to answer your questions as best as we can in the limited time that we have. If not, we will also try our best to contact you post-event to answer any queries that you might have. So I look forward to this time sharing all this information with all our guests today. So I'll pass the time over to Ryan. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Albert, for the introduction. I'm Ryan from Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals Singapore Private Limited. And today, I'm here to share how we are able to help you to extend stability and efficacy of your pharma formulation or API. Before I start, I would like to remind you, everybody again, to please kindly use the Q&A boxes to send to us your questions, and we will try our best to answer the questions at the end of the presentation. If we are unable to do so, like what Mr. Albert has already mentioned, due to the lack of time, we will come back to you after the webinars. With this, I would like to start the presentation and the sharing. First, I would like to introduce our company, Mitsubishi Gas Chemical Company Incorporated. As the name suggests, we are a Japanese company with our head office in Tokyo, Japan. The company established in 1918, and the company is split into two business sectors. The first business sector is basic chemical business sector, which deals with bio-PQQ and MMA monomers. And the team today comes from the second business sector, the specialty chemical business sector. In this team, we have dealings in our oxygen absorbers called Ageless and PharmaKeep. As you can see, the product range that we are handling goes from upstream chemicals, upstream chemicals all the way to the downstream consumer products. As such, we are also an upstream to a downstream chemicals company. Our offices in Ageless can be found globally. As previously mentioned, our head office is in Japan, and our production sites are in Japan and Thailand. Regional sales office can be found everywhere in Japan, in Europe, America, and also in Singapore. We are supporting the Indian market from Singapore, and as Mr. Sean has explained earlier, we have technical support who is based in India for faster response to the customers. Now, let's get on with the highlight for today's sharing. As you can see, the products range that we have caters to a different range, a wide variety range of products, ranging from liquid or wet product to dry tablets and powders. I will be sharing a little bit more details as we go along during this webinars. What we can see over here are some of the applications where our products are currently being used in. For example, IV solutions, blood bag solutions, Pre-filled syringes, eye drops, dialyzers, solid oral dose, catheters, and even for diagnostics. As you can see, the products can be both in liquid or in solid forms. Our goal today is to help you as a formulator extend your shelf life, achieve a higher quality product, accelerate and save on your development costs. First, let me introduce our first product, Ageless. What is Ageless? This is the sachet, and Ageless is the world first oxygen absorbers that was developed by MGC, and we have the largest market share. The purpose of Ageless is to create an oxygen-free environment, and it is made from iron powder. Although there are plenty of oxygen absorbers manufacturers in the world, but because we were the developers of this technology and have been in the market for at least 40 years, I repeat, 40 years, we have an in-depth knowledge of how to make oxygen absorbers safe. We are proud to share that we have not had any of the problems faced by other makers. As mentioned previously, Ageless is made up of iron powder and clay. The mechanism of this product is simply the rusting of iron, thus enabling and ensuring that the oxygens are removed from the packaging and does not get released back into the packaging. As mentioned earlier, the function of Ageless is to create an oxygen-free environment by removing the oxygen in, number one, the headspace of the primary and secondary packaging, number two, dissolved oxygen, and number three, oxygen that are entering the packaging during storage. Here, I will show you some stability results when using different modified atmospheric packaging, also known as MAP. The APIs that we are looking at now is azithromycin. This is commonly used for hypertension. As you can see, the control group has no special atmospheric modification, just normal air. And you will notice that the stability of azithromycin decreases from the second month onwards. However, when the atmosphere has no oxygen, the stability of this API is better. And in this case, if both oxygen and moisture absorption technology is used, the stability is wonderful even up to 6 months. Another test here is the retention of lactic acid bacteria count. Likewise, you will notice that without the modification in the atmosphere in the packaging, the lactic acid bacteria counts drop rapidly. Whereas, when oxygen-free and dry environment enables the highest retention of lactic acid bacteria counts. Finally, another more data to show. One of the biggest favorite supplement of people, DHA and EPA supplement. Everyone would know that DHA and EPA has antioxidative properties and also help to stimulate brain growth. However, one of the biggest problems is that DHA and EPA are fatty acids, which are prone to oxidation. That's why when this product oxidizes, the smell changes. Therefore, in this slide, we can see that with the use of Ageless, the smell and the vitamin C count remains high even up to 12 months. So one question most people will ask, how many types of Ageless do we have? Over here, we have only shown the 3 general types of oxygen absorbers commonly used. They are the ZPT, which is the standard type, SS, which is the quick absorption type, and FX, resistant type. As I've mentioned earlier, we are the available. Please feel free to contact us, and we will see what we can do to discuss and explain to you how we can support you based on your products. Next, I'll touch very briefly on Ageless I, which is our oxygen indicator. Currently, there are just 3 types of indicators, and these are Ageless ILS, ILM, and IRS. The difference actually comes in the temperature of operation of all these Ageless. So some of them are DMF rated and some of them are not. The third product that I'll be introducing today is called PharmaKeep. This is a product that may be very familiar in the pharmaceutical industries in India. PharmaKeep is a revolutionary product that it is able to absorb both oxygen and moisture, and this belongs to MGC. The problem with most oxygen absorbers is that they tend to compete with desiccants, thereby reducing either oxygen absorbent capacity or the desiccant's moisture capacity. This problem is found in the traditional oxygen ion-based systems. However, with PharmaKeep, this do not take place. Furthermore, the dimension of PharmaKeep is meant for regulatory bottle based on auto-insert machines, and the base material is organic compound. So therefore, no moisture is necessary for activation. Likewise, the function of PharmaKeep is to create a no oxygen environment, but with an additional of no moisture environment, therefore making it dry. Because PharmaKeep is able to absorb both moisture and oxygen, there is no worry of moisture transfer to dry products. PharmaKeep can come in both the sachet and the canister form. As you can see, we have a few products range over here. Again, because of the requirements by Indian manufacturers who are supporting the regulatory markets, all these products are DMF rated. Next, I will be sharing innovative new products, Oxy Barrier and Moisture Vanish bottles. As we have mentioned earlier, oxygen absorbers will help to control the packaging atmosphere. However, it is still important to have a good primary barrier packaging. It's the same as keeping your house safe by closing the door or opening the door. As such, we have developed these oxygen barrier bottles known as Oxy Barrier bottles. These bottles have significantly lower oxygen transmission as compared to the normal HDPE bottle, or even the common heavyweight bottles, because all these bottles focuses on moisture barrier. As you can see over here, the oxygen permeability of our barrier bottles is 2.5 cc as in a year, as opposed to the standard HDPE bottles which have an oxygen permeability of 645 milliliter. Next, most of you would be familiar with moisture absorbing blisters. But what if we are able to do the same for bottles? You are right. This new solution is able to absorb moisture without the use of desiccants, and this moisture absorbing capability is built into the bottle itself. As such, the bottle name is called Moisture Vanish. The final product that I'll be sharing today will be known as Ageless OMAC. Ageless OMAC was originally developed for liquid product for the food industry. However, because pharmaceutical companies are also looking for a solution for liquid product, we have fine-tuned and improved this product for it to be usable in the pharmaceutical industry. OMAC is an active multi-layer oxygen absorbing films to remove the residual oxygen in the packaging. Product is also able to undergo retort sterilization or boiling. Ageless OMAC oxygen absorbing films is activated by moisture. As such, it is compatible with liquid parenterals. And like I mentioned earlier, it can go through retort sterilization, and with the combination use of nitrogen gas flushing, it can accelerate and extend the stability of your product after testing. that we are supplying to the industries can come in various forms, such as a roll or the individual sachets, individual packs itself. An example of OMAC that is being used currently is over here on the left. You notice that you have an eye drop solution with an oxygen indicator, oxygen absorber, I apologize. But with this, we have actually developed a new technology where the customer is able to just use OMAC for the eye drop, making it easy where you do not require an oxygen absorber in your packaging. And our OMAC will provide the barrier films that is also together as one solution for yourself. These are the specifications of OMAC, and as per what I've mentioned earlier, this has been DMF filed. As such, you could use it for the regulatory market. All these products that we have explained sounds good, but without technical support and distribution, most of the time it is challenging. MGC, we have our technical service center and R&D center to support customers in choosing the best oxygen absorbing technology solutions for your product or the best Ageless. Sometimes, depending on the customers, we are also able to troubleshoot and do data acquisition for them. R&D center also helps to improve and further develop our oxygen absorber range. With our experience in Ageless, with all our brand owners that we are working with in Asia, in North and South America, we have also worked with automation companies to provide professional engineering support on site and over the phone anytime. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 situation pandemic currently, traveling on site is challenging. As such, we would very much like to support all the brand owners over the phone. Feel free to let us know and we can have a discussions on the usage. In summary, MGC, we are experienced with the various absorption technology and have been providing technologies to control the atmospheric conditions in your packaging. As such, by controlling your atmospheric packaging, the products that is placed in it will enable you to launch the product. With this, I have come to the end of my presentation, and I will hand over the time to Mr. Anil, who will be explaining our newest revolutionary product for liquid formulation. Anil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan, and a very good evening to all the attendees, seniors, and friends from the industry. I would like to thank you all for sharing your valuable time for this webinar. Myself, Anil Kumar from Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals, and I'm taking care of technical developments for South Asia, Middle East, and Africa regions. In this part of our presentation, we will be sharing our newest technology for small volume parenterals, that is Oxycap, multi-layer plastic vials and syringes. Next slide, please. So this is the introduction part. So today I will be sharing Oxycap technology and the benefit it has over both glass and monolayer plastics. We will also discuss on the technical aspects of Oxycap, like excellent barrier properties, low organic and inorganic extractables, and low protein adsorption, etc. Before going into details, we are glad to inform that no other packaging solutions for injectable offer the above properties. Next slide, please. So Oxycap is a registered trademark of Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals, is a multi-layer plastic vials and pre-filled syringes for oxygen and UV sensitive drugs. Oxycap has below structures where the outer and inner layer is cycloolefin polymer and the middle layer is MGC newly developed and patented polymer. We are the only company in the globe to have a multi-layer structure for pre-filled syringes. Glass being widely used material for small volume parenterals since long time. However, it has also some drawbacks. Oxycap is able to resolve most of the shortcomings of glass. Oxycap has excellent oxygen barrier, very small extractable values, good UV barrier properties, excellent pH stability, small protein absorption, and of course, the resistance to cryogenic temperatures. These properties make it very suitable for biologics and regenerative medicines. Next slide, please. So this is comparison a table among Oxycap glass and plastic monolayer vials and syringes. Glass is standard material which has excellent oxygen and water vapor barrier properties. However, a lot of disadvantages as well. Glass alternative material is a monolayer COP or COC, which has overcome most of the disadvantages. However, these monolayer plastic materials have poor oxygen and UV barrier properties as well. To solve these challenges, we have developed Oxycap, which has all advantages over glass and monolayer plastic materials. Only thing customer has to be cautious about is Oxycap cannot go through terminal sterilization or any heat sterilization, and the formulator has to consider alternative method of sterilization like gamma or ATO. We can also support you with RTU vials and pre-filled syringes for the R&D and commercial requirements. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the excellent barrier properties of Oxycap. Comparing with monolayer COP 10R vials, Oxycap has 20 to 100 times better oxygen barrier properties. Also in PFS, Oxycap has 2 to 4 times better oxygen barrier properties than monolayer COP prefilled syringes. This is very crucial for oxygen sensitive drugs as well as biologics. Because biologics are generally very large complex molecules that are generally unstable. Also, there are very less options available to modify a biologics. Formulators are very easily modify chemical drugs, but it is very difficult to modify a biologics. Next slide, please. So Oxycap has a very low extractables. We all know that metal ion interaction is another very important mechanism of product instability. Various metal oxides are added in glass to impart physical and chemical properties. But these polyvalent metals have tendency to leach out and attack the moiety of the product. For example, arsenic and aluminum. So arsenic oxide is generally added to make glass more transparent. But it may leach out under high sterilization temperatures or depending on the type of product or the nature of the product that are filled in. Similarly, study has showed us that aluminum leached in parenteral products containing amino acid formulation in glass by forming aluminum amino complex. So as per the US FDA mandate also, the small volume for small volume parenterals, the label must state maximum amount at expiry. As per the analytical data shown here, the extractable values of Oxycap, which are marked in red, is very much smaller compared to type 1 glass. Next slide, please. So next is a high pH stability. So two major factors that make glass unsuitable for long-term storage are pH shift, and second is glass delamination and generation of glass flakes. pH shift is due to leaching out of sodium oxides. Sodium oxide are formed during the cooling phase of type 1 glass during manufacturing of vials, as we all know, which then leaches into the drug solution and change the pH of the solution. Glass flakes are due to sodium borate that are formed during vial manufacturing processes, and that also remain in the container after washing. The problem is these flakes can't be visible by naked eye, and these may cause embolic, thrombotic, and vascular events when injected. However, some manufacturers also try to prevent delamination by providing siliconized glasses. However, siliconization is also very prone to attack of glass. So it can only postpone the attack, but it will not prevent the delamination process. So it is very important to choose a polymer that is try to avoid these phenomena. So pH of Oxycap, as shown in the graph, doesn't change over time. and it is very suitable for the drugs that are very prone to pH. Next slide, please. So Oxycap also have a very excellent UV barrier. The middle layer developed and patented by Mitsubishi Gas Chemicals block UV lights, thus contribute to extended stability with UV sensitive drugs. As you may see from the below graph that for 300 nanometer wavelength, the transmissibility of Oxycap is only 1.7%. However, for the glass and COP, it is above the transmissibility is above 70%. So Oxycap can provide a excellent UV barrier without compromising with the transparency of the vials. Next slide, please. So these are the available sizes that we have. Oxycap vials are available in 2, 6, 10, and 20 ml, and Oxycap syringes are available in 1 and 2.25 ml sizes. These vials and pre-filled syringes are available in bulk and ready-to-use forms. Ready-to-use vials and barrels are sterilized by gamma, and RTU stoppers are sterilized by ETO ethylene oxide. Next slide, please. So all the polymer that are used in the manufacturing of Oxycap comply with USP, EP, and JP. So manufacturing of vials and syringes is as per the ISO regulations. Plungers, stoppers, and rubber closures for syringes and vials also comply with USP, EP, and JP. We also have the DMF for vials and syringes. We also comply with both chemical and biological regulations as per the JP, EP, and United States Pharmacopoeia. Biological regulation are generally required for the BLA and biosimilars. Next slide, please. So this is the summary. MGC has developed Oxycap vials and syringes for oxygen and UV sensitive drugs. Oxycap can offer benefit over both glass and monolayer plastics. Oxycap has excellent oxygen UV and water vapor barrier properties, have low organic and inorganic extractable, low protein adsorption, and high break resistance. Oxycap is commercially available, and MGC can supply vials in 2, 6, 10, and 20 ml sizes, and syringe in 1 and 2.25 ml sizes. Next slide, please. So thank you so much for your attention, and we hope you all found our product interesting. Please do contact us on given email ID for any inquiry. You can also contact us by simply scanning the QR code. I would now like to pass over the communication to Mr. Albert. I know you, some of the friends from my community might be aware, so you can also contact me if you have any requirement. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Anil, and thank you, Ryan, for the effort in sharing information with our guests. And even before I continue, I would like to say I miss Indian food. It's been a long time since I've gone to India. I'm sure probably I've met a lot of the guests that are with us today. It's been a long time. Yeah. I hope that we will physically be able to meet you for discussions, thorough discussions, and of course as well to support you for a lot of the manufacturing issues that we might need to overcome. Yeah. So before we go on to the Q&A, I want to also add some information before we do the polls, because I think the internet connections had some issues just now. So I want to just introduce again Mr. Miyabe from Japan. Miyabe-san is actually the R&D person for Ageless and PHAMAKEEP sachets, technical person, but he has been with us as the commercial window for Japan, for the Indian market, for the past maybe 3 years, just before COVID. So I wish that he can go to India more, but we hope we can after things stabilizes. At the same time, Ryan mentioned that we are only just specifying certain types of Ageless to you for the pharma applications. In actual fact, I think the word that wasn't clear was we actually have probably 600 grades of Ageless and PHAMAKEEP. And other than that, we actually have more higher technology grades that are meant for actually archives and non-civilian applications. And for the Indian microbiology testing market, actually, we are involved via partners that's enabling the microbiology testing market in India. We probably take up more than half of the market in India. It's just that we are transparent. You do not know, you're not aware, but we're behind that supporting different partners in India as well. All right. And just before we go to the Q&A, I just want to say something that has to do with sustainability. And the issue is, pharma industry has always been very challenging because the focus has always been to be safe and to make pharma products stable, which also means a lot of the processes and the materials that was used or are still in use are actually very high carbon footprint. So Oxycap that was launched today is quite a revolutionary product. We have actually won international awards for this. And when you're able to actually move from 7,000 degrees processing of manufacturing of glass to 300 or 200 plus degrees manufacturing of polymer, high barrier, high oxygen barrier, moisture barrier, UV barrier, and also probably higher impact strength compared to the monolayers products. You're actually also helping to reduce the amount of carbon footprint that's generated, greenhouse gases, and in fact supporting the global movement. So I think that's a really good product, and we hope to get more inquiries on that. Without further ado, Informer, can we just run the polls before we go on to the Q&A? And I'm very grateful for the questions that are posed. Some very fundamental questions, as well as some very challenging questions. Please run the polls. Thank you. Sorry, Informer, can you just run the polls before we go on to the Q&A?
The first poll is live, Mr. Albert.
Yes. Okay.
The first poll is completed.
Okay.
Okay. We can have the second poll also live now.
Yes, please.
Yeah. The second poll is now live. The second poll is also now complete, Mr. Albert.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And once again, I would just like to highlight to the guests that our contact details are on the shared screen. So if you have any further queries, even post-event, please do just scan our QR code and get in touch with us. So let's go on to the Q&A questions. Numerous questions. So we will start with the first question that we got. First question is, the question states, does the product absorb oxygen inside the product pack to create an oxygen-free space to avoid oxidation? So our key business is in oxygen absorbers. So I think we will answer the question both in terms of the sachets and as well as the bottles. So for this question, I will direct the Ageless question to Ryan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Albert. So for the Ageless and PharmaKeep, these two products will absorb the oxygen in the packaging as long as your packaging is sealed properly. When I mention sealed properly means that there is no oxygen that is coming in. And if you are using a high barrier packaging, of course, the oxygen-free environment will be kept for a longer period of time. For the bottles, we have two bottles. We have the Oxy Barrier and the Moisture Vanish. Unfortunately, both bottles do not absorb oxygen. Oxy Barrier will block the oxygen that is coming in, reducing the amount of oxygen that is coming in. Moisture Vanish bottles will absorb moisture from the packaging. And finally, the last product, OMAC, will absorb the oxygen in the packaging as well. So like what Mr. Albert mentioned earlier, our main business is in the oxygen absorbing technology business. So we support a lot of customers in ensuring oxygen-free environment. Okay, back to you, Mr. Albert.
Yep. So thank you, Ryan. I will add to Ryan's answers. So for the sachets, actually, we have multiple gas absorption technologies. Ageless is oxygen absorption. PharmaKeep, we have bifunction, which means we absorb oxygen and moisture as well. For actually the rigid packaging, at the moment we have what we call actually multiple barrier bottles. The bottles themselves, because of the resin and as well as the middle barrier layers, they are high moisture barrier as well as oxygen barrier. So you're able to reduce hydrolysis as well as oxidation of the contents, right? But as what Ryan mentioned, in packaging air, if you are to resolve these bottles, I think for the Oxy Barrier bottles, they would be what we call in the MAP business, passive technologies. They are a lot more efficient in providing a barrier compared to the very typical monolayer solutions that is commonly used in India. And because the middle layers are actually what we call a solid wall, so it is superior to a lot of the existing coating technologies that's also available in India. So the multi-layer bottles are higher level of technology compared to the coating technologies. The equipment as well as the know-how to make the bottles slightly quite a big gap compared to the monolayers. We have certain technologies other than the barriers. We also have commercialized moisture absorption bottles. So not oxygen, but moisture absorption bottles are also available, Moist Vanish. And at the same time, we do have patents and technologies that we can, but we have not launched bottles that might absorb oxygen. But at the moment, at the launch, we will be launching the passive barrier bottles as well as the moisture vanish bottles, right? For the flexibles, they are different ball game because the flexibles come in alu multi-layers, and actually we are converting extruding the films and converting the films in the flexibles into bags at the moment in Japan, but we are now open also to the conversion of the flexible bags, right, in India, and we are also considering further steps to open up the technology for the ingredients for this business. Okay. Second question is on how is Ageless different from silica gel pouches? So I think for this question, maybe I will let Anil try to explain in a more pharmaceutical way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Albert. So actually, silica gel is used for the hydrolytic impurity. So there are many types of chemical degradation in a pharmaceutical process. So it is hydrolytic, oxidative, phytolytic degradation. So silica gel is basically used to prevent the hydrolytic degradation by absorbing the moisture molecules or the H2O molecules. However, the prime cause of product degradation, especially in the complex chemotherapeutics or either in the multi-drug or especially design matrix of any oral solid dosage forms. So the prime cause of product degradation is oxygen, and Ageless absorbs the oxygen that is present in the packaging environment. One thing more I want to add is the reaction that is taking place with silica gel. So whenever silica gel absorbs moisture, it actually adsorbs on the surface. So it is a adsorption process. It is a reversible process. So when the temperature exceeds beyond certain limit, the process become reversible. However, in case of oxygen absorption, this is a chemical process, ionic process, electrostatic process. So there is no reversible reaction. It is only a one-sided reaction. Means it doesn't change. It doesn't. The molecule doesn't releases oxygen after time. Thank you, Mr.
Sorry, we can go on to the third question. Third question would be probably related to Oxycap. So the question is, what is the shelf life of these products? But maybe we can also highlight for the oxygen absorbers as well. So depending on the different grades, actually for the active products, and depending on the efficiencies that's required for the different products, the shelf life may vary. But I think the most important part is for Ageless, for PharmaKeep and MGC's products. We have never faced any performance claims in India, performance claims. And this is because we actually provide a very big buffer for our oxygen reduction capabilities in all our products. And this helps to also overcome certain challenges in the manufacturing process or the transport process that might have impacted the products that require further oxygen absorption or moisture absorption. So this is a very strong point that Ageless or PharmaKeep has. Our products also use very niche ingredients. They are not based on cost, they are based on performance. And our products are, if compared apple to apple, our products will definitely be able to overcome and exceed the materials or the products provided by any competitor in the market. All right. So I'll pass the question of Oxycap shelf life to Anil.
So thank you so much. Currently we have a 12-month shelf life for Oxycap. But you also have to understand that these are performance material. So the shelf life of the formulation has nothing to do with the shelf life of the polymer that we are supplying. So because these are performance material, so we generally claim that up to 1 year, the performance of the material will not be impacted. But it has nothing to do with the formulation that is used by the formulators in that. So you can get a shelf life of 3 years by using Oxycap. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Anil. I would like to just add to one point. Okay. So as Anil mentioned, actually for Ageless, when we say shelf life, actually what we mean is at the point of the last day of the shelf life that we state, we are still able to actually meet the published expected oxygen absorption capacities that's stated in the product. And actually, we are sure we can exceed it most of the time, right? So, and the capability will go into your product from the first day of our shelf life to the last day. That capability will still, the same capability will still go into your formulation when you put it on the last day. The impact on your stability is minimal. So this is one strong point of Ageless and PharmaKeep and all our products. We have very high buffer of our capacities for oxygen absorption. All right. So next question would be, give me 1 second. Next question would be on what for oxygen barrier bottle. How does the capacity of oxygen barrier, how is it determined? And if the product is highly oxygen sensitive, how do we know the bottle will provide adequate barrier from oxygen? So this question I will pass on to Anil and Mr. Miyabe, and maybe we can, from Ryan and myself, we will try to chip in at the end.
Actually, the process of recommendation of suitable oxygen absorber depends on two things. First is the amount of oxygen that is inside the bottle at the time of filling, plus the amount of oxygen that is going to come throughout the shelf life of the product. Let's say, depending on the OTR of the product, the permeability of the polymer that is used by the manufacturer. So the duration, let's say 365 into 2, it is your shelf life. You have 2-year shelf life, and the OTR of the product is 0.1. So it will be multiplied 365 into 2 into 0.11. So this is the amount of oxygen that is coming in. Plus you have to consider the oxygen that is present initially. So according to this calculation, you have to but we have to recommend the choice of oxygen absorber that is required for your product to ensure the product stability. Mr. Albert, if you want to add something.
Yeah, so I'll pass it over to Ryan, especially for the barrier properties. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
Okay, thank you. So I will just add a little bit more on the barrier on how it is being measured. So generally for barrier properties of bottles are being measured by equipment. So there's two ways of measurement. One is to measure the total packaging oxygen, or two, the oxygen transmission rate of the bottle. So you have a machine and you have one sensor inside the bottle sealed, and then you measure it over a fixed period of time, and you will be able to get all this data. It is impossible to do it manually, but if you were to get the data from the bottles manufacturers, they would usually be able to generate this kind of numbers for you. So like what Mr. Anil has mentioned, products that are sensitive to oxygen and how your calculation comes into play, you can contact us and we will try to also help you understand a little bit more about how all these calculations come into play and how it will affect your shelf life. Because like what Mr. mentioned, oxygen absorption capacity, oxygen transmission incoming will affect the stability of your product and how long it lasts. So yeah, thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Albert.
Yeah, I will add to Ryan's statement. So actually, don't worry. Actually, the MGC team that is handling India, we have been dealing with this problem for a long time. And it never originated in pharma. The biggest markets for this were in drinks and beverages. The drinks guys, the beverages guys have been dealing with this problem for ages. And they also moved from glass to polymers. And we've been dealing in those issues with them. And the good thing is we have multiple success stories globally, as well as soon in India, whereby we help those manufacturers calculate how much incursion is happening over the expected shelf lives, either incursion or excursion. The incursion of moisture or incursion of oxygen, or the excursion of, if you're doing maybe CO2 filling, the CO2 out gas, etc. All this knowledge, right? Background knowledge is already there in the packaging industry. And the good thing is actually we are the people who make the barrier materials. So this is the difference between us and actually maybe alternative product suppliers, whereby they are originally maybe a desiccant maker, or originally just a bottle manufacturer. So for us, actually, we start from the feedstock up. We actually make the materials to make the things work, be it passive barrier or be it the active scavenging formulations, right? So we can, well, whole hand, right, and guide you through the calculations. Of course, the easiest way is some Excel formulations that we also have, but it has to do with a lot of very primary volume, surface area calculations, and material knowledge. So please contact us if you have certain issues, and we will try our best to resolve your challenges. I want to add something. Actually, as the packaging technologies in India evolve, and this is where we decided to actually come into the Indian market, because mono layers, even if it's induction sealed with aluminum, has challenges. No matter how thick the wall you go, how heavy the wall is. The problem is the material is a monolayer material based on olefins, which is low carbon count, right? And this causes a lot of open windows, right, for oxygen to come in. So the only way to resolve this, and this again, I would have to say again, is all the lessons and knowledge gained from the food and beverages now can be applied to actually bring the stability of pharma to another level in India. And we are here to help you in terms of materials, in terms of flexibles, and in terms of the active solutions and the rigids. All right. Next question we have is a challenging question. So this question will be answered by Anil. So, and this is a very straightforward question actually. So ETA is no longer acceptable in the regulatory market, and gamma is going to be difficult to be available in India. How can it be filtered or sterilized? So we are probably talking about Oxycap. And Anil, I think you have the answers to that, right?
Sure. So whatever the means of sterilization that we are talking about is the process that MGC have for the RTU vials or the pre-filled syringes. We are, of course, we understand the regulatory issue for the formulators, that they cannot use ETO for the formulation, the parenterals. Generally, the formulator, what they do is they have the aseptic lines. We will supply the ready-to-use vials and pre-filled syringes that are pre-sterilized, and the manufacturer can use the aseptic lines so that there is no human contact and no worry of contamination of the product. Of course, these the pharmaceutical manufacturers use ultrafiltration as a preferential method for sterilization of all the parenteral products at their factories.
Thank you very much, Anil. I would like to add also, it might surprise you, but actually MGC is also one of the leading companies for aseptic sterilization, be it in a liquid form or in the gaseous form. We are the leading manufacturers of food grade and also semiconductor grade of hydrogen peroxide or ammonium hydroxide in the world. We supply to all the majors that are making the semiconductors that you can find in your phones. And I believe you will see more of us in the industry soon, because I believe there are huge announcements coming for the industry for semiconductors. And when you have very high value semiconductors, super high purity, right, 6 nines, then of course the availability of all these very high purity sterilization systems, the raw materials, right, the hydrogen peroxide, ammonium hydroxide, will soon also be available in India. But at the moment, because of this short-term insufficiencies in India, MGC is able to provide sterilized vials and syringes for you to use immediately. So there's no worries of capex, and there's no worries about leaching, and no worries about contamination. We will handle it on our hand, on our side, and you can just use the vials. Right. Next question is the question related to PharmaKeep. So I think probably during the explanations we said the organic compound does not react with PharmaKeep. So I have to clarify. Actually, Ryan mentioned that PharmaKeep is based on organic compounds. So it is different compared to the typical competitors who are offering ion-based solutions, which is actually based on MGC technology, because we started this business 40 over years ago, right? So before we even continue, actually, Anil mentioned about desiccants. So the challenge of silica is, I'm not sure whether everybody remembers. Actually, silica is a reversible reaction. The absorption of moisture in the silica. It's a typical thing that we do when we put the dyed, the colored silica for the storage of cameras, right? So over time, when the color changes and you know that the moisture content is high, and then you actually heat it to try to release the moisture, right? The fact is actually you're using the same silica without the dyes, right? Because it's now in safer pharmaceutical, safer packaging, right? For pharmaceutical use, you can't see the colors. The truth is it is actually very hard to gauge how much the silica is actually absorbing moisture. And the problem is actually transport. So, and also the ambient temperatures in South Asia and warm countries, because the reversible reactions, the outgassing, right, outgress of the moisture, can actually occur maybe 50 to 60 degrees or slightly higher. So this little issue has never been resolved. I'm not sure why. So oxygen absorbers do not suffer from re-emission of moisture. We absorb oxygen, and for PHAMAKEEP, we absorb moisture and also oxygen. And this reaction is one way, there's no reversion. All right. So next question is I will answer just now the question, right? So all our products, be it PHAMAKEEP or Ageless, actually we have different products for different temperatures. We have products that can be used in up to minus 30 degrees. We have also got products that, I mean, as in they can still absorb oxygen based on very low temperatures, up to minus 30 degrees. We also have products that can also also be able to work at ambient temperatures, of course. And we also have products that can work in chill environment. And we can also have products, or we also have products that are able to withstand the heat of retort or other forms of sterilization. So we are, as I mentioned, we have a full range of products for different medical or pharmaceutical applications. So the applications that you see today, a lot of us here today are from the pharma industry, but we shouldn't neglect the guys who are in the medical expendables. Actually, the use of oxygen absorbers in those industries are actually very important because they prevent color change of the materials that is used to make the physical parts, right? The syringes, etc., and even the connectors. All those require quite in-depth knowledge of materials and how it reacts to temperature, and also some experience of how those technologies are adopted. And again, I think MGC is the only company that has the full-flung knowledge and experience that can answer your questions. I will go on to the next question because I think we are spending a lot of time. Next question is about the recyclability of next question is about the comparative data of Oxycap versus COP versus glass. So this information, if you contact Anil or contact us via the QR codes, we will gladly share with you. But maybe just one more time, Anil and Ryan, can you just show the page for the barrier properties between glass, monolayer, and multi-layer? And Anil may just brief you one more time. It's a very interesting product. It has won many prizes globally. Go ahead, Anil.
Yes. So from the below comparative table, you can clearly see that glass has a very excellent oxygen barrier properties, as well as the ultraviolet, the moisture vapor barrier properties. But it also have a very lot of disadvantages or challenges that are marked in red. COP is the alternate material, or COP or COC polymer is the alternate material for glass, which has overcome all the drawbacks of glass. However, they have very poor oxygen barrier properties, as well as UV ultraviolet barrier properties. So that's why we have developed a product, Oxycap, which have both the beneficial qualities of glass and COP. So it has the beneficial advantages of glass as well as of plastics. So it can overcome the pH shift and other issues of glass, protein absorption, inorganic extractable disadvantages of glass. However, it has also very high oxygen barrier properties and ultraviolet barrier properties.
Yeah, so I will add to Anil's information also. So of course you will say, hey, how come, what's the difference between monolayer and multi-layer? The difference is when you have multi-layers and when you have a certain middle layer made of another material, we add to, I think the most important point, UV barrier, as well as we actually improve the integrity of the bottles or the syringes, because there's sort of what we call a sponge in the middle that will actually try to improve the mechanical or the impact strength property of monolayer COCs. COCs or COPs typically suffer from very high breakage Yeah, and also certain other issues, right? So the multi-layers actually strengthen and improve and provide a much better product compared to the mono layers. We have just a few other questions. So I will also try to cover, and maybe Ryan can help me out later. So recyclability of the multi-layer bottles actually is not an issue because all the three layers are based on some form of olefin. And for the recycling industry, actually, when the three materials of a similar nature, it can easily clear. Actually, a lot of the regulations now for the US market, because the three materials are the same. All right, base carrier materials are the same. Question number 9. Can we get your products, and how can we get your products, and how cost competitive are they? So for the oxygen absorbers, we go through multiple channels here. Please contact us and we will direct you to the right partners that we have. All right. And cost competitiveness is a formulation, a formula that requires this issue of stability and quality. So we are not so far, and actually for some of our products, we are cost competitive. Yeah, because we are made in Asia. So we don't need to import. And some of the products are actually made very near to India, where we have FTAs. So we are quite cost competitive. And other than that, I think what we are sharing today, we are very niche products, right? For the rigid ones, I think we are competitive. For the new technologies, of course, they cost more, but they are competitive to the alternatives now because the results are a lot better. For the oxygen absorbers, we rely on our brand name and our quality, and we have never failed any customers in terms of the absorption capacities and performance in South Asia. Okay. Question 10, and this one I will let again. What's the difference? Again, it's a question about silica, Ageless and PharmaKeep. If a customer wants to use silica, how should he decide? So this question I will direct to Ryan and Anil. Maybe Ryan can add your response, and Anil can come in also later.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I think we have overrun the time and we will just answer these questions. I think just now, like what Anil and Mr. Albert has explained, the silica gel and Ageless and PharmaKeep are all different products. Ageless and PharmaKeep are oxygen absorbers, whereas silica gels are moisture absorbers. The only thing that PharmaKeep offers is that you have both oxygen and moisture absorbing capacity. We can have a more in-depth discussions after the webinar. You can try to contact us in our Informa will be showing our contact once more, and you can try to contact us via emails, and we will answer your questions in more in-depth to address all the different questions.
I will also like to answer this question with the help of one of our slides for azilidipine, which is a hypotensive drug. So, Mr. Ryan, can we move on to the slide? Just a minute. So here you can see that in azilidipine, the stability in terms of when using a moisture absorber or oxygen absorber, or when using both, so you can see the trend that when using oxygen plus moisture absorber, you can get a better stability. So PharmaKeep is again with other oxygen absorbers. You cannot use a desiccant because iron-based oxygen absorber will offset the effect of the oxygen absorbers as well as the desiccant, so they will not act. But our special patented product PharmaKeep has the ability to perform dual actions simultaneously by absorbing oxygen and moisture both. So this is the difference. You will get a better stability in terms of your pharmaceutical formulation while using PharmaKeep. Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anil and Ryan. So we have a few more questions, but just maybe the last one or two. So experience required for regulatory approvals. Actually, most of the things we are showing you today are already regulatory approved. even the newest technologies, because they were launched in Europe and US first. So there are no regulatory issues with our products that we launched today. And this goes back to the question. Actually, we have many products, 600 over types, but we are launching, or we are sharing only pharma specific, where most of our products are regulatory approved. And last question is a question about metal detectors. This is quite an interesting question that we will want to actually communicate with you, or the guests that actually sent this question, because there are products that are iron-based. Of course, there were challenges with metal detection, but there are also certain processes in place, like relocation of the sensors, etc., as well as also some products from us, even iron-based, that we can resolve metal detection. Actually, our flexibles resolve the metal detection issue. Yeah. So do contact us, and we will actually share with you how different products and different processes can be used to maybe help to minimize or overcome metal detection issues. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the questions. Miyabe-san, do you have anything to add for the questions that we received today?
Okay, Tina.
Okay, so yeah, so if there's any questions at all, any other resulting or existing queries that you want to ask us, please do contact us directly. I'm sure you are very well aware of the three of us. We've been around India for a very long time. And I want to thank Informa for helping us to arrange this webinar. We are very grateful to the number of people who have signed up and who have joined us. We was quite worried about actually too many webinars, overdose. But we are very grateful for so many people joining us today. And I want to say again, thank you to all the guests who have joined us. Thanks to Ryan and Anil for your efforts. And thanks to Miyabe-san for participating and supporting us. Thank you so much. I'll pass the time back to Mr. Sean of Informa India. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albert, and thank you to all the speakers for the insightful presentation. I'd firstly like to thank the audience for their overwhelming response on posting questions throughout the course of this webinar. The questions which couldn't be answered today, our speakers will try our best to respond to them personally and solve your queries. I would once again like to thank everyone for being part of this informative webinar. We hope to see you all later, again this year, at CPHI and PHAMAKEEP India, Southeast Asia's largest pharmaceutical event, which is scheduled from 24th to 26th of November at IEML Greater Noida, New Delhi. For now, goodbye and stay safe.